A few months ago, at the entrance of my reptile room, this Paludarium, home to my Brazilian rainbow boa, used to look like this. An empty box of glass. I bought this terrarium 12 years ago, and for the past couple of years it's been home to my bearded dragon, Kiwi, who recently got a massive new home. In the meantime, Pamela was growing bigger and bigger day by day.
1, 2, and 3. Yes!
And is now too big for her current home. Luckily, we have an empty box of glass ready to be transformed. I began by resealing the bottom with some aquarium-safe silicone. Using the same silicone, I attached the cork background to the back and to the right side and left everything to cure overnight. The following day, I positioned 2 pieces of glass in a rectangular shape. This will later on become Pamela's pond. I secured the glass in place and added silicone on the inside and on the outside. So it's now the next day and the silicone has cured. Now we're just gonna do a water test just to see if it can hold water or if I have to redo everything. That's 1 liter. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The water seems to be holding. We can hold about 10 liters of water in here. I'm gonna leave it like this overnight. Pamela's enclosure is currently on the floor, just because I don't have any furniture left. I had to steal her furniture for Kiwi's new massive enclosure. But it's just temporary, until I'm done with her new enclosure. Since this is going to be a bioactive setup, and it's going to be pretty humid, we're gonna need a drainage layer. After adding the leca, I remembered that it was very hard to keep Pam from entering the drainage layer. Instead of using leca bolts, we're gonna use these plastic floor tiles. You can put these together however you want. But now we just need to cut it to size. The idea was to create a drainage layer that at the same time serves as a substrate divider. So I lined the floor tiles with some wheat fabric and secured them together with some zip ties. I realized that the floor tiles weren't deep enough, so the plan was to add a thin layer of leca balls underneath. But I don't want the big balls, so I'm gonna sift it through this. In addition, I have these super small clay balls as well. That's much better. I'll just add this little piece. This is Pamela's current setup. And as you can see here, the substrate is pretty damp and it's not very deep. It's like this deep. It's like a finger deep. But with this new tank, it could be much deeper. Look who came out. This is always fun to watch. Like the Mino always sits here staring at Pamela, which is kind of fun to look at, but at the same time have to be very careful because when Pamela gets older, like when she's fully grown, I don't think she can eat Mino, but she can definitely kill him. Cat really wants to say hello to Pam, but I think if the cat comes near Pamela, Pamela might strike. So you have to stay there, even if you're mad at me. As you can see here, Pamela is getting way too big for this small little enclosure. And Pamela recently shed her skin. She's very beautiful right now. So I have this box here of things that I've accumulated over the past 2 years. And I think I have everything I need to make a perfect bioactive setup. First thing we see here is this Terra basis. 1 forest moss. We also have some pine bark and some organic topsoil. Okay, so first thing that's gonna go in is the moss in some water. let's add the moss. Let's go inside. To keep the water clean and to keep it moving, I need a filter. So I digged through my messy box and I found this old power head. But there was a problem. There was no hole big enough to fit the power plug. So I chopped it off, fit the cable to the ventilation and added a new power plug. Et voilà, we have power. Okay, so now that we know that the water section is not leaking and we've tested the filter and we have the substrate, it's now time to make this pond look more realistic. So I was up all night thinking about how I could make this look more natural. And I came up with the brilliant idea to cover this all with a thick layer of silicone. And then we take some of this gravel / sand mixture and kind of press it into it. And then I was thinking to incorporate this cork bark to hide the pump. And by the way, Pamela just shed her skin. This is how long she is. She's exactly the length of the terrarium. So this is just enough for her. So while the water section is curing, I have to do something that is going to make Pamela extremely angry. I have to steal her hide. I've actually made this hide myself using expanding foam. As you can see here, it didn't turn out great because now you can see all the expanding foam. Oh, Pamela's coming out. She thinks she's going to get fed. This is her hide. I mean, we could just keep it like that, but it's extremely ugly. I think I'm just gonna carve it, smear silicone over it, and then put substrate into it. We just do a time jump. Well, as you can see, the water is now clearing up, and the outflow here is controlled by this thing. If I turn it, we basically have very slow flow now. Let's talk about hardscape. My initial plan was to add this big cork bark. I don't know if I like it. It kind of takes up too much space. I mean, it's nice and all. There's many different ways I can keep it. I could keep it like this, or, you know, all the way up to the top, something like that. And I also have this one that I cut off from this one to make it fit. I could, for instance, keep this one here, and this could serve as a hide somehow. Let's go into the kitchen and see if we can find some plants. In the kitchen, I have this shelf where I keep most of my plants. And in this cylinder, we have some pothos. We have a plant that I do not know the name of, which looks like a tree. I think we even have some aquarium plants in here. This tree gives me sort of the bonsai feeling. If you know what kind of plant this is, let me know in the comment section. Before finishing planting the plants, I needed to know where the hardscape would go. Hardscape can be very expensive, especially big pieces of wood. So instead of buying wood, I normally come to this little park where I know the trees. These are elms and oaks. I'm gonna go for a little stroll here around this area and see what I can find. Normally I look for pieces like this, where the bark is already peeled off, so I don't have to do the job. Something like this, you know, something that is super dry. See this one? See, there's an isopod here. A little isopod. A big isopod, actually. So many options here. This one is just long and thin. This one is a bit thicker. It took me 30 minutes to collect more than I need, and I even collected some oak leaves for leaf litter. Before I can use the wood, I need to properly prepare it. First, I removed all the bark. Then I cleaned it with soap and hot water. And finally, I baked it in the oven at 166 degrees Celsius for an hour-ish. Alright, so we're back. It's a little bit dark in here because the lights are off in the reptile room, but show must go on anyway. So I've added a heat light here just to see how hot it is. 35 degrees Celsius, water is at 30 degrees, in the far corner is 25, so I guess this is very good heat-wise. And underneath this black thing, I have a UVB light. Custom built a little screen here. We have this gigantic piece, which is my favorite. I think I want to have it all the way to the back. We can get some plants coming up here. Or, you know what? Maybe the other way around. Yeah, then we can have it like this. And then we have this one. I don't know, I kind of like this. The only thing I don't like is that this tank is super short, you know. It should have been double the size and height so that we could create more climbing space, because I think rainbow boas in the wild, they like to climb. As I said, this is a temporary house for Pamela. She's only gonna be here for a year or maybe 1.5 years. I'm not planning to get more animals at the moment, but I want to upgrade my current animals to bigger and better enclosures. Because one thing I saw when I rehoused Leonardo, my green basilisk, to his new house, he was much more active, much more happy. He was running around, he was swimming. You could see much more happiness in his eyes. I'm really liking this. She could chill here, she could chill here. She have her hide here, she has her hide here. I mean, she even has her own pond with this filter going on, which is very murky at the moment. So I think I'm gonna do a big water change. That's much better. Now we can see what's going on in the water. Now that we have a layout that we like, I can now remove it so we can add more plants, because I really want more greens covering the background. I want it to be dense like that everywhere. In time, the pothos will grab onto the background and climb everywhere. What are you doing? What are you doing, Kiwi? Okay. Leo is looking down at Kiwi like, what the hell is going on here? Kiwi. So I have this Monstera thingy that I want to rescue because it's not doing well over here. In the cylinder, can't really see anything. It's completely overgrown with these floating plants. So we're gonna take some of that and add to the pond. Besides the crab tank by the window, we have this begonia that we possibly could take a little cutting from. Yoink. And of course, in Pamela's tank, we still have some plants that we're going to take. In the corner, we have a bromeliad and a begonia. And then we also have some pothos. Kiwi, that's not your tank. No, Kiwi, that's not your home. To cover the silicone lines, I used some black adhesive film. Okay, so let's add Pamela to her new home. I think she's inside the hide. We're gonna give her some privacy. Today is actually feeding day for her. Hopefully we can get some clips of her feeding later. As you can see here on the beast routine, today is feeding day for Pamela. Every time she strikes, no matter how ready I am, I always shit my pants. Good night.